Hello everybody. Welcome to my session today. This is going to be a TinyMCE workshop. Thank you so much for being here. For those of you who are hacking in our month-long hackathon, there is a TinyMCE prize category. I highly encourage you integrate TinyMCE into your project. It will make things so much easier for your users, and it's going to pop your application. So today we're going to just work together through some very, very easy steps to integrate TinyMCE into your project. For a disclaimer, I have not signed up for TinyMCE yet, so we are actually going to be doing that live. So you can either follow me or work with me throughout the session. For those of you who don't already know me, my name is Wei, and I am a coach here at Major League Hacking. I use he, him pronouns, and a fun fact about me is I just a remote pilot license, which means I can fly a drone here legally in the United States. So super stoked about that. Let me go ahead and change my banner to make sure to check in, because we definitely want you to get your points. By the way, that is the picture of my remote pilot license, in case you're wondering. Be sure to check in now so that we get you recorded in our attendance. I'll also be posting this link in our chat. Right. So just go ahead and click that link. It takes 2 seconds to check in. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'll let you know how everything goes. Come see me at my next Global Hack Week. If I do some cool drone shots, I will share that on stream. Cool. With that, as I mentioned, what we're going to be building today is it's going to be a very simple chat application. This is going to be I'm going to borrow a chat example from Socket.io, which is an amazing tool or web protocol and library to create WebSocket integrations into your web application. And for the purpose of this session, we're going to start off with their chat example application. As you can see, there are really only two meaningful files, index and HTML, JS and HTML. So it's going to be super, super easy to understand. And I'm going to show you how to integrate TinyMCE into your application in just a few lines. With that, I'm going to change my banner. Feel free to ask any questions anytime throughout the session, and I would be more happy to help you out. Cool. Welcome, welcome from South Africa. I am so happy you're here. So let's take a quick look at TinyMCE. TinyMCE is what's called a WYSIWYG editor. It stands for what you see is what you get. It makes text editing on the web so easy because users can, style their text right on the web page without any difficulty in formatting and things like that. As you can see here, users can select, they can bold items, italicize, add pictures, add bullet points, and all that within your application. So think of your hackathon project. If there is a user input of any kind, I highly recommend just checking out TinyMCE, signing up, and just pop it in. It takes just literally a few lines of code to do this, so we will jump into it shortly. So yeah, definitely check it out. They have integration with all kinds of front-end frameworks: Angular, Bootstrap, JavaScript, jQuery, React, Svelte Vue, web components, whatever floats your boat. It also works with plain old JavaScript and HTML perfectly as well. And that is actually the example we're going to take. And for the first step, we are going to fork this repo. This is what I'm going to do now. You don't have to follow along, but feel free. This is going to be very interesting. So I'm going to hit fork, and I'm just going to call it Chat with TinyMCE. Right, and I'm going to create fork. And once I have created a fork, I'm going to open up the project in GitHub Codespaces just to make it easy for me to edit code and for you to access it as well later on. So I'm going to open up Codespaces. This is going to create an online virtual VS Code environment just for my project. I'm super excited about this. This is a very, very cool sample application because with just 2 files, we'll walk through these files real quick after, but with just 2 files, you can integrate Socket.io with a chat application that works around the world, right? Anybody can access these pages, these web pages, and chat with other people. So if you are looking to add a chat functionality into your application, Socket.io is your friend as well. So definitely check it out if that can add to your project. All right, so let's first take a quick look at our index.js file. This is the Socket.io file. I won't go into too much detail because this is basically a example application, and it's so you can see all the things that's importing from the default packages. Socket.io, it's using SQLite, which is a file system database that is based on SQL, and Socket.io adapters, things like that. So it's running some database queries to create the database, create the tables, and on connection, if it's a chat message, on receiving a chat message, we're actually inserting the messages into the database, and then it's also broadcasting the messages out to everybody on that web page. So that's basically what this is doing. You can take a closer look at the forked URL, which I have included in the chat. For now, I am going to run the application. Actually, go through the index.html real quick. This file is even simpler. It really only has, these are style, so we won't worry too much about it. But it only has like a few elements inside. So it has a list of messages, which is very easy to understand. Every message will pop in this component here, DOM element here. And we have a form that has an input and a send button to send the messages. And then after that, we have some event listeners like, oh, if you get, if you hit submit, we're going to send the message to Socket.io basically through WebSockets. And then on receiving any chat messages, we're rendering that onto the page. So these are all pretty straightforward things. You can, the basic chat example, and let's just run it and see if it works. And I'm just going to run it with start because that is the script provided in package.json. As you can see here, we're starting with node index.js, and I'm going to make public so anybody can see it. All right, so let's first go to, so as you can see, 2 ports were opened. So basically we can have the chat app on 2 different domains and they can talk to each other if you want. So let me open this up, continue. And as you can see here, this is the Socket.io chat. This is Socket.io chat tab. Let me just copy that link so that everybody in the chat can also go to that web page and access my chat. So I'm going to say hello world from Wei. And as you can see here, once I hit send, the message is now showing up on the page. If you would like, you can also go to this URL and send some chat messages to show up live. Let me actually zoom in a little bit more so that you can see the messages better. Perfect. All right. So the next step is we need to integrate TinyMCE into our project. This is actually super simple, but first let's sign up for TinyMCE. Let me see if there's a link I should be using to sign up for TinyMCE, and we can go from there. So we do have a TinyMCE sign up for a MCE account. I'm going to share that in the chat. Where is my chat here? Found it. So please feel free to sign up for a TinyMCE account right on here. And I'm going to it real quick as well. So I'm going to hack.ac/tinymce. And I will continue with Google since I have a Google account already set up. I will continue with Google. WeiOnStream.com. Take a few moments here, and I am in. So I'm going to put, I am engineer. I'm going to use it for learning or for interest maybe. And I'm going to start using Tiny. And right on this page, you can see that we have some scripts already here. Install Tiny using Tiny Cloud. You can do a hybrid deployment, which basically means like you can self-host your Tiny installation. But for our purposes, we're going to follow the simple example here. That is adding the TinyMCE code snippet to your app. So I'm going to just copy this real quick and move it over to our application. I believe I just need to pop it in the head section here. Place the first script tag in your HTML's head, yes. And then the subsequent script should go after the input. Okay, so all right, we have popped in our first script tag here. And then we're going to pop in our next script tag on the bottom here. And just for simplicity, I'm going to remove the text area provided by TinyMCE, and I'm just going to change our input to a text area because TinyMCE works with text areas. And now we have an input that has an ID that's called the input, or sorry, we have a text area that has an ID of input, and we can go ahead and click, choose that as our selector. So we will go here and then put input as our selector. This is not necessary. Text area should also work because there's only one text area, right, on the page. And as you can see here, place the following script and text area tags in your, yeah, so we have done that. Now, we won't do AI just yet. So I'm going to comment out AI. I'm going to comment out any plugins. I'm just going to comment out everything except for TinyMCE init with the input ID. All right. So all I have to do now is to rerun our server to see if it worked. Now, there is a very nifty tool or a nifty shorthand flag argument in Node.js 19, which allows you to automatically rerun the Node server when a file changes. This is super, super useful because if you are updating your source code, for example, you can automatically rerun your Node server so it has the latest changes. And let me just find out what that flag is called real quick. Watch file changes. Node.js watch file changes. I'm going to do a quick search here so that I can get the correct information, correct flag for y'all. I think this might be a little bit more difficult than I thought. So for now, I am to look at some of my notes that I have worked on before the session. Make sure I have the right command. Okay, so the right command to watch like a path or one file is, I can just do this -- watch path index.html, or if you have a source directory, for example, you can just watch path source, and every change under there will trigger a restart of the Node server. But for now, I'm just going to trigger a restart when there are changes in the index.html, since that's where we're adding most of our code. Node npm start. Okay, so it is running once more. I can come here, refresh, and as you can see here, this domain name is not registered with TinyCloud. So let's take a quick look and see if we can add the domain. So here you can add the domain name. And let me just open up this URL once more and add this to our domain, allow the domain name. And now that I have added it, I'm going to refresh and you can see the warning is gone. But I do have one little issue, that is the TinyMCE editor is a little bit crammed on the bottom. So let me go ahead and add some, or increase the height so that there are some room for it. And we can do that by just taking a quick look at the form on the page here. And as you can see, the form tag has a height of 3 rem. 3 rem is very short. Let's do like 12 rem, for example, and just see how that looks. And I just saved this file. I'm hoping this watcher is working. As you can see, it is working. It just restarted the application. And if I go back to our application website, and you can see that it is now much taller, which is perfect. And let me zoom back in. Now here we have a toolbar, we have a menu bar from TinyMCE, and we can add tags like hello world 2. And as you noticed, it is showing a paragraph tag for some reason, right? It is showing a paragraph tag. If I bold, it's still showing a paragraph tag. This means like the way we retrieve the text from TinyMCE is a little bit different from how you typically would retrieve text from a input. And as you can see here, on form submit, we are calling input.value. So input.value works with HTML form inputs, but for TinyMCE editor, we do need to retrieve the value a little bit differently. And for my example here, I can show you how to do that. That is, first, we need to capture the TinyMCE instance. And the way we capture it is by just running this command here, tinymce.get. So I can do something like tinymce. And in here, I'm going to put the tag name as well. Get input, which is the form input, right? So we're going to get the TinyMCE instance. And with that, we now have a TinyMCE instance. We can then retrieve the value by doing like tinymce input.get content. This will get us the raw HTML of the TinyMCE input. And as you can see, if there is content, we're going to emit that message, emit that content as a message through our socket.io to our backend database. And lastly, we're going to just clear out the input. So as the users are typing and sending the message, we want to clear the input. And we can easily clear the input by running the command reset content. So these are some of the helper methods that TinyMCE exposes to developers. And I'll share some of those documentation towards the end so that you can explore on your own what are the available methods under the TinyMCE inputs. And with that, just a few lines of changes you can see here. A few lines of changes here. We should be able to send and receive messages. So I'm going to put italic text. I'm going to put maybe not bold, but italicized. Maybe I can center it as well. So I'm hoping the message just will show up in the middle here. And I'm going to hit refresh first, and I'm going to hit send. Okay, perfect. So as you can see here, the raw HTML was captured. You can see the center style, and you can see the EM, which says italic text. But this is being rendered as a text, not as HTML. And we can easily fix that. So let's go back to our source code here. And what we need to do here is when a new chat message is received, we need to treat it as a HTML instead of text content. And there is a helper method or helper property within JavaScript called inner HTML. And by doing that, we can set the message to the li element as the inner HTML of that element. With that, I should be able to refresh and see this italicized and centered. Yes, just like that, we have a full dynamic, fully featured HTML editor using TinyMCE. And we can also do things like heading 1, right? Heading 1, and that works perfectly as well. So everybody in the world can come on and send a message this way. But just be aware, your use case might not be a chat room, right? You might have a comments page where users can leave comments, or maybe your users can edit some posts. These are all like very, very useful tools, or very useful use cases, I should say, TinyMCE provides for your application. And all you have to do is to integrate with just a few lines into your application, and you will be eligible for the TinyMCE category at our month-long hackathon. And please leave any message you have. Chat me if you have any questions whatsoever. If I'm going too fast, doing too slow, let me know how I'm doing. Okay. And as you can see here, we also have some like options on the TinyMCE, right? So let's explore some of them. So Tiny Comments Mode Embedded, Tiny Comments Author. I don't know what those are, so let's take a look by uncommenting them and going back to our application. Yep, nothing changed. So we can take a quick look at the TinyMCE documentation. And search for Tiny Comments. Introduction to Tiny Comments. Okay, so it looks like these are for collaborations within, yeah, like a comments plugin. This is perfect for any web application that you're building that requires user comments. So definitely check out Tiny Comments feature on TinyMCE. And apart from that, I'm going to look at the toolbars. So these are like some example toolbar items that you can include in your TinyMCE editor. Like maybe you don't need some of them, you don't want to enable some of them, like maybe image, media. These are like too complex, like I don't want to do them, I can just take them out. If I any comments, I can take that out as well. And these are some different options that you can in your toolbar. Thank you, Harry, for your message. Isn't it super easy? And they make it super, super easy, right? You can easily include which items you would like on the toolbar and go to it, and you can see them applied right on the toolbar. And don't forget, you can go to the URL directly if you want to chat with me live on stream. I will send the link once more. Perfect. So yeah, I want to also show you cool integration with OpenAI. But before then, does anyone have any questions so far? I would love to help out. Just to recap what we've done so far, and we'll go to this edit or git staging mode here. You can see that all we did were we included the TinyMCE JavaScript line that we copied from our account. We updated our input to a text area, and we added a init function, or we're calling the init function of TinyMCE with our selector input. And lastly, just some minor items here to retrieve and reset the content of the TinyMCE editor. So it's really, really simple, really straightforward how we integrated this TinyMCE into our application. All right, feel free to message me if you have any questions. But the next thing I want to show is how we can integrate OpenAI on TinyMCE. So imagine we have a chat room where everybody has to maybe comment a quote of the day, but I don't have any offhand. I would love to check with OpenAI to see if they have any suggestions that I can use to post my quote of the day. And with TinyMCE, this is super, super easy to do. I'm going to, first, I think I have to sign up for OpenAI. So let me actually go through a tutorial that's written by our MLHer Rosendo, and you can also refer to it throughout the session and beyond. So this is a link to the tutorial on how to integrate an ChatGPT powered AI assistant with TinyMCE in just a few minutes. So we'll just go through it together live, and you can watch or you can follow along. So what to expect? This should take 10 minutes, perfect. And I already have a TinyMCE account, so there's nothing to worry about. But I do need an OpenAI account. There is a requirement to input my payment information. So let me go ahead and register online because I don't have the account right now. I'm going to register right here. Go to continue with Google, waitonstream@gmail.com. And I'm going to just put a random birthday here. Perfect. Major League Hacking. And I am in. So I do need to add a payment method as mentioned in the document here. So let's input my payment information. Where is the payment information? Let's see, billing. Add payment details, individual. And for now, I will just generate a virtual card for the purpose of this session, and then I will delete that card right after. There's no balance, so don't need to try it on your end. Okay, and I'm going to put no balance. Here is going to be the card number. And then let me just find the Major League Hacking's office. I think I did that in my last Global Hack Week session as well. So I'm going to put way, country as United States, PO 438, New York, 10159. That is the address of the MLH office, used to be anyways. And I'm going to continue. So by adding my payment method, I should be able to have access to my token. I'm hoping I do. If not, we'll have to just skip this section. So API keys, verify my phone number. I do have to verify my phone number, looks like. So let me do that off screen real quick. Okay. Signing up for project is quite time consuming, but once you're set up, it's super easy. Okay, let me create a new API key. Oh, I just forgot it. I need to, did I copy it? No, I did not copy it. Oops. Okay, so it looks like I need to create another one. Be sure you remember to copy your key after you create your secret key. Wait on stream 2. Okay, I'm going to copy. Perfect. So with that, I have an API key at my disposal. I'm just going to keep it somewhere for safekeeping, and we will come back afterwards. Okay, so as you can see here, we're going to load some HTML into our index.html file, which we have already actually done, right? We have completed because we do have this URL. Next, we are going to make some changes here. So basically, if you look at my previous script, I commented out the AI request method. So now, since we have an API key, let's put it back in. So here is the API request. We can make the height much taller, so let's do both of those things here. AI request, height, perfect. And then just for safe measure, let's also update the height from 12 REM to 700 REM so that there's a little bit more room for our form. Okay, save. So we do need the API key here, it looks like. So let's just paste it in for now and see if it works. I have refreshed it. One thing I think I do need is I need to enable the AI plugin. Now we have a lot of plugins here, so I won't enable all of them, but for now I'm going to enable the AI plugin. And I'm going back here and refresh. Okay, this is not looking too good because the size is crazy. I can't see anything. So let's reduce it back to like 300 pixels and reduce the height to back to, or maybe let's do 20 REM. I really can't see anything, so I'm hoping this will fix it. And it also looks like we are missing some brackets. So I think I need a parenthesis here. Bracket matching is always a headache, so let's just make sure we have all the brackets matching up. I think that's it, so save. And if we go back to our application and refresh, you can see our TinyMCE editor. Bro, yeah, thank you so much for your message. Okay, so as you can see here, we now have an Ask AI option. That's really exciting. And AI shortcuts too. So I'm going to AI. There's even a shortcut for it. Command J, that's amazing. So I'm going to say generate a quote of the day. Inspirational quote of the day. So now we have a respond with was not used. So that is not good. Let's look at your application and see. I think I'm missing a step here. I was jumping a little bit too quick. So as you can see here, couple more steps. So we need to first define our API key, which we did. And then we need to include a respond with method, or call the string method under respond with to include our open API API requests, right? So let's move that to here. as you can see, like all we did was like we defined a constant variable of the request options, but we didn't actually make the request. With this response with string and signal, things like that, we are actually making a fetch request to retrieve results from OpenAPI. So I'm going to save it. And let's just go through the documentation a little bit further down to where we are not missing anything. And it looks like we can add an AI icon to the toolbar as well. It's really cool. AI plugin, let's take a look at the AI plugin. This is the AI plugin documentation as well. We don't really need to go through all of them. But for new items, okay, those are the menu toolbar buttons. Yep, so let's add our AI dialog toolbar item so that we can access that directly from our toolbar. And I like it so much, I'm just going to make it the first one. Okay, let's go back to socket.io and refresh. And as you can see here, we now have an AI button. Let me hide my comment down there. And here it is. I can do something like write an inspirational quote of the day. I spelled it wrong, of course. So inspirational quote of the day. Okay, so I have exceeded my current quota. This is because I do not have a payment plan set up and I don't have any credits. Let me just make sure. All right, correct. Okay, so it looks like I cannot use OpenAI right now, but let me try a different key just for good measure. If that key also doesn't work, then we will leave it, because you can of course sign up for the free credits and use your own token and it should work fine. So I'm trying out this new key. Refresh. Write a quote of the day. Okay, it worked. So we have an example quote of the day that we can use to to pop in our application, right? So I can say something like, oh, the only way, great work, love what you do, I love it. So I'm going to send it, and now everybody in the world can see my quote. Yeah, so with just a few lines of code, here is the documentation. Where is the site? Actually, I can't find it now, but yeah, it was here. With just a few lines of code, we're able to integrate OpenAI ChatGPT right to our application through TinyMCE editor. They really do make it super easy to integrate. Okay, so that is the capability of OpenAI right inside the TinyMCE editor. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in chat. Isn't it super powerful? And you just need to integrate TinyMCE into your application with a few lines, and you'll be eligible for the prize, as I mentioned, for the best use of TinyMCE prize. So definitely check it out. And last but not least, we will jump into some TinyMCE plugins. We're going to see like what are some TinyMCE official plugins and what are some community plugins that we can use within our editor. They actually make it super easy. So let's go to the documentation and check it out. I'm just trying to find the plugins page. So here is the plugins page. And as you can see, we used the AI assistant already, but they have a ton of other plugins available. If you want to have the ability to create a checklist, for example, if you want the comments plugin, TinyMCE comments, as I mentioned, if you're working on a website with multiple pages requiring user comments, that is perfect. You can export the TinyMCE content into different formats. I'm assuming you can do things like Word, yeah, or yeah, export. Yep, you can export the images as well. So they make it super easy. You can even print a PDF as the users are typing and editing files. You can generate a PDF from their input. So this is all like super useful stuff. And here we have the format painter. You that, and let's try it and see if it works. And the way to add a format painter is to just include. Okay, so it looks like there are some example configurations already set up. So we can do format painter, code, format painter, and we can include some configurations for that. And the basic setup, it's just use format painter. So why don't we try that out? Super easy, plugins, format painter. Just like that. I will actually add another icon to the toolbar just to make it a little bit easier to access. So this is going to be the first item on our toolbar. I'm going to refresh real quick and you can see the format painter right here. So I'm going to do test 1, test 2, test 3, and for test, I'm going to change some things. I'm going to change it to a pre-formatted code. I'm going to change the font to symbol maybe, and 24 points. And I can easily select the format painter and maybe drag it across test 3, and now you can see test 3 has the same format as everything else, as test 1 actually, not test 2. So let's hit send, and everything is working perfectly. So this just shows you how easy it is to include various extensions and plugins directly in TinyMCE. Let's take a look at any, like if there are any other ones that we can of. Look, there's even a real-time collaboration part of it. So if your application has any sort of real-time collaboration going on component within your web app, this is like super useful, right? Autocorrect, Tiny Drive, you can even manage your files. Now let's take a look at source plugins. So you can create accordion now. You can automatically resize TinyMCE to fit the content, auto save, code, insert date time. I feel that's really useful. So let's try to integrate this plugin into our application. And this is also super easy, right? Insert date time, toolbar, insert date time. Of course, there are a ton of configurations that you can choose from, but for our basic use case, we're just going to add it in. I'm going to take out the format painter and include the insert date time feature. And if I refresh here on our application, you can see a clock, and I can just insert any date time I'd like. So thanks for coming to my TinyMCE session at, let's do on today at time. Perfect. So just like that, the message should be sent. I noticed like I don't have a scroll feature on this chat window, so like items coming down below are going to be bumped down. So perhaps like we can improve our, if we're actually working on a chat application, make it automatically scroll to the bottom. That way it's much easier for users to see the latest messages. But for the time being, I can actually go ahead and delete my database. I'm going to stop the application. I can actually delete my database and just start over fresh. Now I'm starting with a fresh blank slate. All right, and just for good measure, let's pick another plugin. If you have any suggestions, please let me know in chat, like what you would like. I feel like word count is super useful, especially if you are working with limited real estate space on your screen. So you can actually also configure various parameters to treat word counts differently for different words or different symbols and characters. And a very basic setup is just to use word count in the plugins and toolbar sections of the init. So let's just do that real quick as well and play with it. Refresh. Now you can see a word count. So I'm going to type some words here to see how many words I have typed. To be or not to be. That's a big question. And as you can see on the bottom right, we have 23 words so far and 100, exactly 100 characters. So that is perfect. I'm going to hit send. And send did not like it. So send did not work that time, but it looks like the page refreshed. But the input is still working, as I can see here. Okay, perfect. If there is any other plugins you'd like me to try, just let me know. But let me just go back to my slide and continue, wrap it up. Is the Q&A slide. If you have any questions, let me know. So some of the key takeaways for this session. So they are, we first started off with a very, very simple JavaScript and HTML chat application using Socket.io. We signed up for TinyMCE and super quickly we were able to copy some script tags onto our page, and we converted our input to a text area for TinyMCE. And we played with TinyMCE. We initialized it with just a couple lines. We then integrated OpenAI. We created an OpenAI token in our ChatGPT website, OpenAI website, and we integrated ChatGPT right with our TinyMCE editor, right? And lastly, we worked with various plugins. We played with the paint, the marker, the word count, and various plugins, just showing you how easy it is to integrate TinyMCE into your application. If you are still thinking about it, I highly recommend you just to spend the 10-15 minutes, sign up for a TinyMCE account. That way you can integrate that into your submission, into your project, and be eligible for the best use of TinyMCE prize category. And with that, I do have some resources for you here. You can find the Get Started guide for Socket.io, as well as the TinyMCE Getting Started guide to integrate with ChatGPT and OpenAI. All right. I would just like to thank you so much for being here and enjoying the workshop, I hope. Hope you learned a thing or two with TinyMCE. We do have another session coming up that is, let me just check our Discord server here. That is Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And that is going to be a Kintone workshop. This is our friend, one of our MLH coaches will show you how to set up a web database using REST API routes and authentication. So making it super easy to integrate a web database in your application. With that, thank you so much, everybody. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day and enjoy hacking. Happy hacking, everybody. Bye for now.